Okay, Bob, I think we're ready to go over the operation and filter schedule here. It's a little dark in here, but I'm going to try to highlight with my flashlight here. Okay, this is where the water comes in from the well, this 1.25" pipe down here. I had to double it back because it was already elbowed back toward the well, so I've come around down. I installed a union there, and then converted over to PEX. So we got a 5 gallon per minute dual valve right there. The silver thing, it's kind of hard to see right now. That restricts the flow down to about 5 gallons a minute, so it should never over pump the well. Okay, it comes around this side of the pressure tank, the left side, into the tank T. There's our first pressure gauge. There's a pressure switch, hose bib connection for just getting raw water if you need raw water out of a water hose. There's our first ball valve, and then we're back around here to the area where we started at. Okay, from there it comes up, goes into these two housings, two filter housings. The first one is going to be this dual gradient sediment filter, and I've got the label for it right there. That's the DGD 5005-20. So we're going with a 50 micron dual gradient filter in the first one. So we've got a pressure gauge immediately after it to compare pressure drop from this gauge over here. That's our first gauge, our initial gauge. So we're going to be comparing the pressure drop across that filter by looking at these two gauges. Then our second filter is going to be the same size, the same dimension. It's going to be a 5 micron. They look identical, so be sure and keep them in the packaging. So that's a 5 micron. From there, it's going to go into the water softener. Here's the water softener. Here's the salt tank. You may not, don't fill it up completely until you figure out exactly where you want to place that thing. I've kind of got it in the middle of the floor right now, so we can get access around either side. There's just 2 bags in it right now. The rest of the salt is over here. Okay. I did pipe in a hard bypass right here, so as we're leaving these 2 filters here, if there's ever any problem with this equipment over here or this pump that's in the big black tank or any of this equipment over here, you could just close these green valves, that bottom one and that top one, and open this valve, and you would get water looping right back around and out to the house right here. This is that line right there is the one that goes out to the house. So let's continue on with our filtered water routing. So normally when this bypass is closed, these top and bottom ones are going to be open, so water's flowing out of this second filter up to the water softener, and we come to our third pressure gauge. So we're going to be able to compare the pressure between that pressure gauge and that pressure gauge to determine pressure loss across that second filter. Leaving the water softener, we're going to go over to the reverse osmosis machine, and you're going to have a ball valve here and a filter cartridge down here that you'll have to replace periodically. You're going to be able to check the what's this say here, pre-filter outlet pressure. So you're going to be able to compare the condition of that filter as well by looking at that pressure gauge compared to this pressure gauge, and you'll be able to see a pressure drop when it's time to replace it. The manufacturer says about 10% pressure loss tells you it's time to replace the cartridge. So if you're running at 40 psi over here and you're reducing pressure by 4 psi, it's time to change the filter cartridge. You may want to check that monthly initially. You'll kind of get a feel for how long it's going to go between filter changes after a month or two. So the water softener is set up to backwash automatically. It has our information on it. It has a clock, tells you how many gallons are remaining. I've got it set up on a 7-day override, and it's also got a flow meter built into it. So those screens are going to be just alternating. You shouldn't have to do anything to that. If the power is out for a very long time, you may have to reset the clock. But it's got a battery backup, so it should keep time. Okay, so we're at the water softener now. I'm sorry, we're at the reverse osmosis machine. We're ready to go ahead and turn it on. We want to make sure that this valve is open and we have water pressure here at the pre-filter outlet before we ever turn it on. So here we go. Just a little switch on the control box down here. Cooper's helping me out here. And it's going to do a flush before the pump actually comes on and it starts filtering water. So let's check out these flow meters here. You're going to have here's your inlet pressure I was showing you earlier. There's your pump discharge pressure and concentrate pressure. I've already set all this up. You should not have to adjust this when the pump comes on and it begins running. This left one should be up at about 0.83. I've got it written down for you right here. I probably need to come up with a little bit better label for you. 0.83 gallon per minute on your permeate. Over here on your concentrate should be at about 1.25 gallon per minute on that one. I've written that down here as well. You shouldn't have to adjust those. It'll kick on here in just a minute or two. There it is. Our pump pressure and concentrate pressure both come up to about 170, roughly around 170. And our flow rate over here is just a little bit above 0.8. It's about 0.85 over here. And then on this right side, you're looking at looking at the top of the little flow indicator. So about, let's see, that's a little bit low right now. That one's at about 1.1. That thing should come up. So just give it a second to stabilize here. Once we get this thing set up, I think my flashlight's dead. Once we get the thing set up, you shouldn't have to adjust it very much. But what we're going to need to do is just turn this concentrate control valve. I'm going to open it slightly. And there you see it's come up to about 1.2. That's about 1.25 there. Pretty close. And we're still at about 0.85 over here, which is pretty close. So that's going to give us a total of, I believe it's around 2.075 gallons feed water. That's your total water coming in. And by getting 0.8 over here, 1.25 over here, that's about a 40% recovery. So you're recovering about 40% of your feed water. TDS meter is slowly coming down. I've seen it come down as low as 12, 13 earlier when I was watching it, so should come on down once it stabilizes. I've kind of had the softener shut down earlier, repiping over here, so there may be some air, there may be some things going on there that need to get worked out. You can see bubbles going on here. That's probably going to be your hydrogen sulfide gas that is entrained in the water. There's a lot of bubbles over on that side. And you can see quite a water quality difference there from your incoming or your concentrate that's going down the drain to your permeate. That's your product water right there. Okay, from there, from this machine here, we're going to have a drain line. The large line going out the wall is your concentrate. That's your wastewater, and then your permeate goes through this tube I have curled up here. It's going to go into this existing line and drop into the top of the tank right there. So That's pretty much product water right there going into the tank. From your tank, you know, this was already existing. This was, I just tapped into what was already here. So we've got same pressure tank. I just reconnected here and went up to filter housing. Now I put just a 50 micron sediment filter in there for now. This is actually where you need to put your carbon filter. This is before it goes to the house. So from here, goes around the corner, connects into the UV. The UV is actually installed behind the RO, and you've got access to change the lamp over here on this side. You can actually get the lamp completely out of here. It'll come out behind this piping here. Whenever it comes time to change the lamp, they ask for about 24 inches of access. So it's tucked in there pretty tightly, but it's back there out of the way. From there, it comes out of the top of the UV. Back to your bypass I was explaining earlier, to your last pressure gauge. Now, if you're looking at this pressure gauge, you're going to be comparing that one and that one down there to actually be determining pressure drop across that filter right there. So don't be confusing that pressure gauge with all of these other ones over here. This is going to be the last pressure gauge before water goes out to the house, which is where those two brass elbows are down there. That's going out to the house. So that's pretty much it. I installed another pump tech over there on that system, so you'll have pump protection. I've also installed an alarm, a low-level alarm outside. Now my connection is the little one here on the left with the cord connector on the left. That may need some adjustment. If that alarm goes off, you might check to see where the water level is in the tank. If it's you know, half full or something, you can loosen that nut and you can just drop a little bit more cord in there, and it'll lower the level before the alarm goes off next time. So that's pretty much the entire system. You can hear this thing clicking over here. It's got a relay in this box right here, so I just connected onto that with my pressure switch, which is over here. And I just kind of tapped onto what was already here, and I think it's going to be a great system for you. You've got your wrenches here. There are 3 O-rings for those filter housings inside this box of filter cartridges. All 3 of your spare O-rings for these 3 housings here are in that box. You have some plumber silicone grease up here on the top of the breaker panel. It's a good idea to lubricate those. Anytime you're changing filters, lubricate that O-ring at the top of the housing. Very good idea. So, okay, I'm going to check this one more time here and see what's going on. We've got a little bit of a higher TDS now. I'm not sure what's going on. Make sure these valves are all in the correct position. I believe they are. I'll keep an eye on it for a few minutes, and we'll see what it's going to do. That thing should start coming down. Not going up, that's the wrong direction.